All right. So as you can see, it gives me this object, right? Now, let's say if I want to get the first kid, which is this. Remember, it's not a rocket science. If I want to get the first kid, I would simply do profile.kids 0, right? And if I run this, I would get Jill. Okay. If I want to get age, then I would say profile.age, and I would get 40. Okay. So let's build a very complex object, but you have to apply the same rule. Whenever you see an array, you just have to use square bracket and use index to get the value. Whenever you see object, you just have to pass the key to get the value. Okay. If you remember this, you can do this exercise very well. So I'm going to give you a little exercise. So instead of just simply this kind of arrays, I'm going to also, this will be, let's say, also in a profile. And this is where you would see the power of arrays and objects. So instead of this simple arrays values, I'm going to have kids also would have name, which is Jill, and kid also would have age and 30. Well, 30 is too old. Let's make it reasonable. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Or he becomes a stepdad or something. I don't know. And here's I have 16-year-old Peter. Obviously, this can have also kids, right? And this one would be, let's say, Megan. Sorry, name is Maggie, ages 2. And she doesn't have, obviously, doesn't have any kids. All right. I'm going to put this object inside the chat. And I'm going to ask you to grab stuff from here, just using the console log. And let's do this. And it's a fun exercise. Okay, so you can open the code pen. And now I want to know a couple of things. I want to know the first kid of Jill. Okay. I want to know how many kids Joe has. And Joe's second kid's age. There's 3 things I want you to find. Obviously, you can see it, but I want you to use console log and to print it from here. So first is first kid of Jill. Remember, simple rule. If I want to from object, if I want to grab value, let's say if I want a Joe, I would just simply say profile.name. This gives me Joe. If I want to get kids, I would say profile.kids, and then kids as an array. If I want to grab the first one, then I would get 0th element, right? Because arrays you get using 0 and 1. And so here's the deal. If I want to get kids, I would say 0 or 1, right? This would give me the value of this. But if I want to get profile something, dot name, this would give me the value. Let's take a few minutes and then work on it. Practice is pretty important here. So let's try this. And feel free to ask question if you didn't understand the question. Put one here in the message if you're done, so I would know if when people are finishing. So anyone got it? At least some of them? All right. Do you guys need more time, or I can give you solution at least so one of them, and you can solve the rest of it. Maybe I can give you a solution of the last one, and then you can solve the other two. Sounds good.
Yeah, I think it will be helpful.
Okay. All right. So I want to get Joe's second kid's age, right? So what is Joe? The profile, this is Joe, right? His name is Joe. His age is 40, right? And he's got kids. So first thing is I need to guess one step at a time. I need to get Joe's kids, right? How do I get it? So I know the profile, right? Which is Joe's profile. And if I just get kids, right? This is Joe's kids. So if I console log it, I would get all Joe's kids in an array, right? And what happened? Profile. Do I have some? Hold on.
I had a problem as well. Is there like anything missing in the on line 7, like a comma?
Oh,
Or
yeah, comma is missing here. That's why.
that happened.
My bad. Okay, yeah, the comma was missing here. That's why. So if you, yeah, that's my bad. If you didn't get it, then it's because of that. So which would let's just move forward anyway. So if I get kids, then it would give me an array with this too. So it has two elements, right? One is Jill's object and one is Peter's object, which I can see here, right? Jill's object and Peter's object. Now, remember, this is an array. So if I want to get the first kid, then all I have to do is square bracket 0. That's it. So if I run this, I get the first, then I get this, right? And I need, yeah, so this is, I need age of this kid, right? So all I have to do is now dot age. That's it. So if I want anything from object, I would just dot the property. Then if I want, if I have an array, I would just use 0 and 1, so the index, and then again property, right? So this is 20, which is this, right? So let me put this again. If you in the chat, my bad, I should have checked it. The comma was missing. All right, let's replace that with this. And now let's try the rest of it, which is first kid of Jill. So this should be easier now that we know how to find second kid of Joe. And then how many kids Joe has. All right. I know this, first time you're doing it, it's a little difficult, but if you just follow the rules, it's pretty simple. As I said, if you want to get if it's an object, just use dot and the name of the property. Don't look at it can be confusing, right? You just say, I want the age, then profile.age would give you this. If I want kids, profile.kids would give you this, which is an array. If you can identify with a square bracket. If you do 0, which means it gives you this. If you do 1, it will give you this. And then after that, if you do dot age, it will give you this, dot kids, so, okay. So if I want to get the first kid of Jill, right, it's the same thing. Profile, where is Jill? Jill is here, which is the first kid, right? So Jill is actually Joe's kid. So I would do just here, I'm just gonna profile and 0, and then 0, profile.kids would give me this. Profile.kids0 would give me Jill, right? So that's what I want, but I don't want the Jill's age. Now I want kids of Jill. So I would say kids, right? And which will give me this, right? And I want first kid of Jill, which is this. So, and then I could use either name or something, kids. So first kid, kids, dot kids 0. Yeah, that's it. And if I run this now, then I get the mag, right? That's what it is, right? Or you can do dot name, and that's also would give you mag, right? Any question here? I can read it literally. I can say whoever profile is, it's first kid's name. You can read it like that. Okay. So this is very simple. So even if you don't know, if I want a second kid's name, right? Joe's second kid, let's say, then I would simply do profile. I don't even have to look at the object. Then second kids, right? So kids, second kid is basically 1 because 0, 1 is a second kid. Dot name, that's Joe's second kid's name. Joe's second kid's first kid's name would be, this is Joe's first kid, and his first kid name, right? So I'm without even looking, I can do this because I know now the structure of it. So in a way, you can actually read it by looking at it. How many kids Joe has? So I already know profile.kids gives you Joe's kids, right? Which is an array because this is an array, right? So if I just want to get the length of it, I would get how many kids he has. That's it. That's all I need. So remember we did the array operation. It gives you 2. Okay. In homework, I'll give you something similar. So you'll get practice. Once you get this, a handle on this one, life becomes very easy because now you can manipulate this thing. You know how all of this works, and you can manipulate object and arrays. But first try manipulating individually object and arrays. So once you have a command over it, you can do mix of objects and arrays. Okay. Okay. So we have few topics left in terms of JavaScript. So we learned about data types. We learned about data type conversions, right? A string to number, number to string, and whatnot. Then we looked at the complex data structure, which is arrays and then objects. And now we're going to look at something called functions. Functions are very important in JavaScript. Why do we need functions? Function, basically, it's a procedure. So for example, let's say if I have to explain my 5 days, what I do in the 5 days, right? I can say I got up in the morning, got up, brushed brushed teeth, had breakfast, got ready and left house, and then drove to work, right? Work, banged on the keyboard, right? Had coffee, and then came back home. Right? If I have to explain 5 days a routine, I have to just copy paste this over and over, right? Instead, I can actually make a procedure out of this. So this one, I can call it getting ready for the morning or something like that, right? I can call this getting ready for the office, getting ready or something, right? Getting ready in the morning, or morning routine or something, right? Let's call it morning routine, something like that, right? This involves this many steps, right? And then I can say work routine, this involves. So if I have to explain my day, I can simply say, hey, I had a morning routine, then I had a work routine, right? And when I say morning routine, which has multiple steps, work routine has also multiple steps. What if there are changes inside, right? I can, let's say if Monday I do a little differently than Sunday, then I would pass here Monday, where, Monday's routine. So maybe just a little different. Maybe on Monday, on Tuesday, maybe I have a taco, but Monday I don't have taco, right? So this is called function. It allows you to group things together in a way that you can just keep calling it wherever you like, and that's called function. A simple example would be, let's say if I want to add some numbers, right? So I want to say 3 plus 5, equal to 8, right? If I want to do another calculation, I have to say 6 plus 7 equal to 13, right? But what if I have a function where all I have to do pass the two numbers? I can create a function called add, and within I would just pass 3 and 5, and it will take care of the addition of this, right? And this is a simple operation. What if it has do my taxes or calculate the interest of certain things, right? Which has 5 or 6 steps, and I can create a function that allows me to do that operation in a simple way. And so the function is nothing but so there's a name of the function. It has an argument that you want to pass, and it returns something, right? In this case, it will be total add. So let's build a function called add. So the way it works is I would say function, and then name of the function, and then within the parentheses, I would pass a parameter. So I'm going to say A and B, or in this case, let's say number 1 and number 2. And then there's a curly bracket. And so this is the structure of my function. And then within the curly brackets, I would do some calculations. So I would say, let total equal to num1 plus num2. So I've created a total, right? And then I would return total. So the function, the job of the function, it takes something and it returns something. It's like a transformation. If I let's say if I'm building a sandwich, right? I need bread, I need lettuce, I need meat, I need cheese, right? So all of these would be the argument here. And what am I going to return? I'm going to return a sandwich, the build sandwich, right? And the function inside here is just all the procedure of how to make the sandwich. So if somebody says, hey, make me a sandwich, I just have to call this function and I just provide ingredients and returns me a sandwich. And just like any machine that, you know, you have to put stuff inside and it just returns something, right? And that's called a function. So if I want to call this function, all I have to do is, let's say console log, let's say add 1 and 2, right? I'm not saying 1 plus 2. I'm passing the argument in this format. When I run it, it would give me 3, right? 1 plus 2 is 3. If I say 2 plus 2 and run it, it'll give me 4, right? So I've built this function that is multi-purpose. I can always call this function and it will return me. So I don't really have to worry about what the calculation is inside, right? And again, this is a very simple example, but you can have a very complex, calculation inside. The objective is to, simplify things in terms of what you put it in and what comes out, right? If you have a bread maker, if you ever looked at a bread maker, you just put some dough and some water and the bread comes out, right? It's a similar concept. So we don't really care about what's going on inside. Once we build it, we just have to use it. Any question on this one? Okay, so let's build a function. I'm just going to leave it this here. Let's build a function called say hello. Okay, so the argument would be, so the function would be say hello, and the argument would be the name, right? And it would output, so let's say if I say Joe, then it would output hello Joe. If I say hello Peter, it would say hello Peter. Okay, so let's just build this function called say hello. Just looking at this, instead of number, you're going to have to pass string. And yeah, let's build this. I'll give you a few minutes to do it. And again, if you are confused, ask questions, because you don't want to move along without understanding this stuff. This is the foundation of programming. Once you understand this, things become much easier. But if you can't, then it would become very difficult, right? So practice a lot. So I'm going to give you a lot of practice homework to do something like this, so you get a lot of practice. But in programming, you cannot conquer programming without practice. That's the gist of it.
I'm sorry, could you please again say what we need to do?
So remember, we built this function called add, right? Similarly, I want to create a function called say hello. So instead of add here, this would be say hello, right? Instead of number 1 and number 2, we want to have something called name here. So you see how we call this function? The add function would be, we are calling it like this, right? Console.log add, and then we are passing 1 and 2, right? These are two number. So number 1 is 1, number 2 is this. Similarly, we want to build a function called say hello, where we're going to pass name, which is this guy. And in this case, it returns what? It returns the total, right? In this case, it would return a string called hello Joe. So we'll take Joe and add hello to it. It would take whatever the name is, Peter, and it would add hello to it in the front. So if I console log this, basically, after building that function, it should say hello Joe. And for this one, when I do this, it should say hello Peter. Any question? So follow this model.
Thank you.
And then just use your guess on how you would do that, right? It's pretty similar to this, pretty similar. Okay. Anyone still working on it? Okay. So let me give you a solution, and then I'll give you another similar. So the objective is to, show you something and give you a little bit more complex, and then show you something and give you a little bit more complex. So this is a pretty simple one. So what I would do is I would create exactly the same way, right? I would need a function, and the name is say hello, right? And it's pretty similar structure. So it has a parenthesis and a curly brackets, and whatever goes in the curly brackets is the body of the function. So in terms of parameters, I'm going to create a parameter called name, which is nothing but this. So if I pass Joe, which becomes a name here, right? Here you can see that if I pass 1, 2, it becomes number 1 and number 2 here, right? And then inside I can grab the number 1, number 2, and then do a total. Similarly, I can say let message equal to, or greeting or something, right? Equal to, I can do hello. And simple way to do it is just hello plus name. You may have to leave some space here in between because, right? Because you don't have that, the, hello and name supposed to have a space in between, right? And then return message. Okay, so now if I clear this, and run it, I would get hello Joe, hello Peter, right? So this is a simpler way to do this. I don't really have to have a separate variable. I can simply do this, return. I don't really need separate variable. Okay, so what happens here? So if I pass Joe, right? Joe becomes name, and then inside it says hello, and then whatever the name would be, which is dynamic variable, which is Joe. So it says hello space Joe, and it returns that. Okay. All right. So now that you know, let me give you a little different example. Let's say if I want to say something like this. Hey, Joe, do you have candy? Okay, where Joe and candy are the variable. So I can also say, hey, Jill, do you have milk? Right? Or, hey, Peter, do you have a pencil? In this case, do you have, I wouldn't say a pencil, do you have cake or something like that, right? Keep the structure same. So you can see Joe and candy is a variable, right? So I want you to modify, say, instead of say hello, I want you to create a function called message. Okay, where you would pass 2 arguments, name and the item, and it would print out this. Okay. So here you go. And in programming, you have to take risk, which means if you don't know something, just try it and see how it works, learn from it, and then adjust. If you think, I don't know, if you're too worried about using something, then you're never gonna find a solution. The best programmer understand what is going on, use it, break things, right? Maybe it will fail, but then understand that based on the failure, understand what they did wrong, and then adjust it. And if you do that, that's a way to learn. And then that's how your brain would, oh, this is how you write function, right? And then put your solution in the message, those who finished it. And believe me, when I started programming, I I was always confused, right? Um, I when I started, I thought I wasn't built for programming because all this different syntax I would see and my brain would just freeze. But once I started doing you know uh, uh, those little examples, then I realized that you just have to follow certain pattern. Once you remember those patterns, it becomes very natural to you. What happens when you see a new problem, you get confused, like exactly how this is going to work and all that stuff, right? But it gets easier and easier as you practice. I'll give you a good example. From next week, I'm going to teach a mobile development class here at UC Santa Cruz. I have never done mobile development, but I'm going to teach a mobile development class because 6 months ago they contacted me and said, "Hey, we like your teaching. Can you teach mobile development?" And I said, "Okay, I can do it." I've never done that, so I picked up. I looked at a couple of websites. I practiced because once you learn one programming language, it's pretty simple. You just have to understand the environment, and I create a course based on that. And I'm going to teach it. So that's how it works. And ironically, about 10 years ago, the same school I went to learn this mobile development for very first when the iPhone came out. And I'm telling you, I did not learn much on that class because my first experience learning that stuff. But now I can pretty much pick up any programming language within a couple of weeks. All right, so let's do this. So as I said, there are two variables, Joe and Candy, right? Jill and Milk. So you can see they're variable because they're changing. Things that are static is, hey, do you have, right? And then obviously the question mark. So if I take this and if I just take this sentence here, and then if I can just write, let's say this is a name. So I would just do this plus name plus object. And then rest of the stuff, make them a regular string. Right? I would also need some space in between, right? So one way to do it is if I provide space here, a little bit space here, and a little bit space here, that would work also. And also, if you look at Dale's solution, she has pretty good solution where she has created a variable for this, each of that as well, just in case if you want to change that as well, right? Which is a good thing. And now I'm going to write my function. So function would be a message. So function is a message, and then I would pass name and object. And inside, I would simply say return this. Okay. So now if I say console log message, and I would pass, say, Jill and Milk, it would print this. It would substitute name for Jill and Milk for object. Right? I guess I don't need a space here after the, but now I can see it, right? So programming is all about, as I said, you make a mistake and you fix it. That's it. So as long as you're not afraid, if you're not doing anything, you're not learning because you're not making mistakes. So make mistakes, break things, right? If I forgot to write a curly bracket, if I'm running something, right, it's going to complain, right? Expected token, right? So then you kind of look at it and say, oh, I messed up, right? So that's how it works. Any question on this one? Yeah, I'll give you a lot of practice example, and maybe I'll go over again on some of the stuff so that you would understand it. Another function would be something called arrow function, which is a smaller syntax of the same thing. And the way it works is you see here I have add, and then I have two variables, right? num1 and num2. Right? And then it returns something. So the objective is, in the arrow function is, you write a function as a variable. So you would say, let add equal to, and then you would say number1 and number2, and then you have an arrow function. So when you have an arrow function, if it's only one line, you don't really have to do a return. You simply do this. And this becomes much simpler. What you'd say, it's a function where I pass this two things and I return this too, in a way, right? So this is input, this is output, which makes sense. So I pass two numbers and it adds it. Much cleaner. And this is called arrow function. We're going to learn some of this in React also. But as long as you practice a little bit of the functions, you would feel more comfortable when we hit the React part. Any question? You guys are very quiet. Okay. So another thing in a function is you can actually have a variable from outside, and also you can use it. So remember the message one. Say hello, for example, right? Say something, let's say. And then here I have a name. And then remember we did return hello and plus name, right? But instead of that, this hello, we can actually also make it a variable. So I can make a variable outside here. So I can say let prefix, right? Because we're adding a prefix equal to hello, right? And then I can replace this with prefix. Even though this is outside, it would still work. And in this case, I would have to also add some space here because I did not leave a space at the end here, right? So now if I say console log, say something, and then Peter, it would call hello Peter. Say something is not defined. Oh, maybe I misspelled it. You see, you need a debugging technique, right? So here's a hello Peter, right? Now, if I want to say hi Peter, then I just simply say change hi. I don't have to change anything. I run again, and it says hi Peter. So try this as well. And this is where we're borrowing variable outside inside here. And one of the things, you remember having this kind of an empty string inside, kind of ugly, right? So if I want to have a natural spaces between something, there's another way of doing it, which is something called template string. Template string is pretty interesting. So you would use this backtick. It's the, if you have a Mac, it's the one under the escape key, right? And the way to do it is anything that is a variable. So for example, prefix is a variable, right? So I would say $sign. Oh, sorry, here. Inside here, I would say $sign. And then within the curly brackets, I would use prefix here. And then name is also a variable, right? And I keep the natural space here. I didn't have to do plus or anything. It's like within the string, if it's a variable, all I have to do is use this $sign. And if whatever space I leave here, it will be preserved inside here. So it says hi, and Peter, and there's a long space in between, right? So if I have to say that, remember the message, hey, do you have item, right? So if there's a name and item, right, then it will be name here, then, well, it will be, hey, and then I don't have to use plus or anything. I just simply substitute with name. And then I would say, do you have the item, right? And then question mark. So it's much cleaner, as you can see, because I don't have to do plus and those other spaces in between. It's much cleaner. So this is called something called template string. It's another type of string where you don't have to, where you use backtick and interpolation. All right. Any question on this one? Okay. I would say there are only a few things left in terms of learning JavaScript. As I said, I wanted to give you like a high-level overview of JavaScript, and then we wanted to focus on the actual coding in React, so that which you will find much easier and more fun than this. So a couple of things now we can look at it. One is, remember in the homework I gave you a problem to solve, which was to, if you go to the homework, and so we had the first problem, which was, let's look at removing duplicates. Okay. I'm going to show you how to do it, and then we'll talk about the projects. So let's say if you have an array, and I have some duplicates. 1, 1 is a duplicate, 2, 2 is a duplicate, right? So in the end, I want something like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? I want to remove duplicates, and assuming this is a sorted array, which means I will never have something like this. I would never have something like 1, 4, 6, 2, right? It's always sorted, which means the smallest one is going to be on the right side, left side, and then the high is going to be on the right side, right? So if you think of this way, how do I remove duplicates? One way to do it is, and this is a hard one, and I gave you a hard one so you can find some solutions by yourself. Again, as I said, failing is important, right? So to find something is duplicate, if they are duplicates, then they're going to be next to each other, right? Because they're sorted. So if I have 2, then I'll have 2 in a sequence, right? I'm not going to have 2 somewhere here because they're sorted. Which means if I can remember what was the last one. So let's say if I come here and I pick 1, right? And I'm going to say, okay, I've seen 1. I'm going to put 1 here. So I'm going to create a new array, and I'm going to insert 1 here. And I'm also going to remember that I've seen 1 last time, right? Then I'm going to compare the next one, and I will say, is this next one same one as the one I've seen before? Yes. Then I'm going to completely ignore it. So this is ignored, right? Then I'm going to take the next one. Is this something I've seen before? No. Then first of all, I'm going to replace this with this. And I'm also going to insert 2 here. Right? Then I'm going to see another 2. Again, I'm going to check. Have I seen this before by comparing with this guy? Yes. I'm not going to do anything. And then I'm going to come to 3. I'm going to replace it, 3 here. And I'm going to put 3 here. And then so and so forth. And I'll have no duplicates. Okay. So let's solve this problem. So remember, I have a for loop. Let I, or let's say val of nums. Okay, which means, or item. Let's call item of nums, which means each item. If I simply console log this, console.log item, which it would print all the items one by one. Okay, so let's look at it. If I run this, I would see all the numbers, right? 1, 1, 2, 2. So I know that they're coming. So that's the first step. Make sure that I can do this, right? Now the next thing is, remember we had that placeholder. So I'm going to create a variable called holder, and I'm gonna make it a I'm not gonna put any value to it, which means it's empty. Okay. Then first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to compare with this guy, very first guy I see, right? Because this is looping, which means it's going to take 1 by 1. So first it's going to take 1, right? So I'm going to say if holder equal to item, which means if this equal to this, then ignore it, right? Instead of ignoring it, I would just say if not equal to item, which means there are 2 different things, then holder equal to item means replace it. That's the one thing. And then I would create another array here called let result array equal to an empty array. And then I would say, remember, if I want to push something inside, we use push, right? So I would say result dot push item. That's all I need to do, which is if I compare holder to this, if it's a different, then add it to this new array. Otherwise, don't do anything. That's it. And replace holder with a new item. It's a simple calculation. And now if I print this console log result, then maybe I misspelled it. A lot of my mistakes comes from misspelling, where I would spell something one place, spell something differently. But you can see here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any question here? So these are very classical example that you want to try out. It gives you a really good understanding of how this would work. And if you do a few of these, then your brain will get tuned to it. Right. Couple of things you can do is, if I want to check what's coming inside here, so I would say, what's the holder right now? What's the value of holder? Right. And when I run it, it would give me all the value of holders. Right. So initially it's empty, right? Then 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So let's say if you wrote some code and your code is not going inside, then this will be empty, and you know that, oh, my code is not going inside. So why is it not going inside? So that's how you can debug. Okay. Any question on this?
I have a question. I think I took a longer way to get there, and I
Okay.
used new set and back to array.
Mm-hmm.
and then the spread operator and copy.
Yeah, that's another way of doing it. So what she had done is this. So
I just want to know if that's
it's a valid.
uh
Yeah.
Okay.
So set. If I convert nums, we haven't learned set yet, but I just give you a flavor of it. So in JavaScript has something called set. As I said, JavaScript has so many different things, but I want to teach you things that are that are going to be useful. Because you can learn so many things, and this class would never end. But set is something automatically removes duplicate values. So if I say new set, and if I just pass the the numbers, right? This would automatically remove the duplicate values, and then you can we haven't learned the spread operator, but I'll teach you later on. And then you can convert it. So it's like a one line, you remove the duplicate values. But since we haven't learned it, I don't want to focus. But that's what you did, right? I guess.
Yeah, but I didn't do it as simply in one line. I did it like
Okay. Okay.
with copy. I made a copy value for new set nums, but now I see that I could have done it with
Yeah, you can do it in one
all
line. So. Yeah. So once you know the certain solution, you don't have to do this. This is really helpful to understand the logic of how things work, right? And once you do that, then you will, okay, if I can do this, the next example. So let's say let's look at the next example. Those who are struggling, we can look at the next example. So the next example is find the maximum of this, right? I'm not going to solve it, but we're going to discuss it. So it may help you. Where did that go? It may help you solve it. So let's say if this is the what is that? This is an array, right? I want to find the maximum value. So what I would need to do is, in this case, is remember I have a holder here, right? Holder is keeping track of the duplicate. I would need a similar holder here that keeps track of the maximum, right? I would need a max. So when I first encounter one, I would say, oh, this is the maximum I've found, right? So because this is the maximum so far I've seen, I can set this to 1. When I consider 2, oh, and then you compare with the maximum, then I say, oh, okay, this guy is even bigger than this, so I'm just going to put this as a maximum, right? And then once I run through every number, whatever is inside the max is my maximum. It's probably become like a 4-line code here. Okay. So that's how you can find maximum. So write that. Something else is, let's just say, what else was there? Find a number of TP in the back. So this was pretty simple. Yeah, so the rest of are pretty simple. But yeah, so if you don't know how to do that one, now you know. I would highly suggest use that technique of holding a variable that keeps track of things and then doing it. And this is a very common technique, right? If you want to track something, you need a separate variable, and then you need a result array that where you put stuff here. In this one, all you need is the maximum value, which is pretty simple, right? Because you don't need a result array, you just need one number, which what is maximum. Okay, so that's that. Okay. What else? Okay, let's look at the projects. So projects. Okay. So we have multiple projects that you can do. Let's decide today who's going to do which project, and so you can start working on it and think about how you want to do this, right? So let's look at the, and then if you have a project that you want to do, feel free to suggest it. You don't have to do any of these projects, right? These are very simple project that you can finish within a couple of weeks, right? I mean, if you're really good at it, you can finish in probably half hour. But yeah. So okay, so Dale said she likes to do rock, paper, scissors. So that's a good one. So how the rock, paper, scissors works? Let's quickly look at it and the logic behind it, right? And then we can, so rock, paper, scissors, you play against computer. So here's a computer, right? Where you pick, so you can either a computer plays first, and then you plays first, but you don't know what computer play, and computer don't know what you play, right? It's easy to, because it's easy to see what computer play if you print it out, right? But regardless, you don't want to do that. So let's assume that computer plays first. So how is it gonna pick one of them? So it's just gonna pick things randomly, right? So imagine if it has an array of 3 numbers, right? It has a rock. It has an array of rock. Then it has a paper, and it has scissor, right? And there's a function we're going to learn a little bit later on. There's a function that allows you to randomly pick between a range of numbers. So if I pick 0, right, then I can say computer 0, which is going to give me rock. If I say 1, it's going to give me paper. If I say 2, it's going to give me scissor, right? So that's how you would pick, right? And then for you manually pick, right? For you, because you are the player, computer picks randomly, you pick manually. So you would pick one of them by providing an input to your program. It could be if it's a user interface design, then you're clicking on individual item, right? So you'll have a rock, paper, scissor, and you click on item. Here, you're just simply providing your input. So you can create a variable, say, well, my input is rock. Okay, you fix it, let computer pick and see if it matches or who wins, right? Or there is a way to actually provide input as well, which we can look at it as well. Okay, so this is rock, paper, scissors. And then you have to write some logic. Once you have picked something and what computer has picked something, you have to build a logic. Who won? You have a rock, computer has paper, paper wins, right? So you have to build that logic for each of those cases. And then you output that, right? So that's simple. Okay, so who else? Let's pick right now so we don't guess number is pretty simple also. The way to do it is computer produces a random number, which is between 1 and let's say 100. And then you pick a number. Obviously, you don't know which number computer had picked, right? And then you pick a number. Let's say I picked 50, and then computer will say whether my number is lower or higher than the one that computer picked. If it's equal, then I won, obviously, right? But if it's lower, then I'll just pick something from the lower range. If it's higher, then I'll pick something from higher range. And then we keep track of how many times you have tried it. You have maybe 4 or 5 times, and then computer said, well, you have exhausted the number of times, so you lost. But if you pick it within, let's say, 3 or 4 tries, then you say, okay, you won and you within this tribe. Okay, so that's a guess the number. And then this is rock, paper, scissors, and you also can roll a dice. The roll a dice is pretty simple, but you can get really creative on it, where you can roll a dice and see the probability. You can say, okay, if I roll 5 times, what number comes in and whatnot. Right? So you can do something, or you just simply roll a dice and see what number comes in. If you want it just as simple as possible, right? Because that can be used in a multiple games. Roll a dice. So have you decided what game you want to build? If you're confused, let me know. I can pick for you. So again, roll a dice would be pretty simple, right? Guess a number and rock, paper, scissors are pretty similar. Okay, so David is going with the guessing game. Okay. All right, pick up guessing RPS. Okay. All right. Yeah, just pick right now. So it gives you planning, right? And again, it's not due next week, or we'll do maybe around. So next class we'll tackle the randomness and some other stuff, right? So all of these would require some randomness. Okay, Jiyoon want to build a calculator? Yeah, you can build a calculator. As I said, there is no restriction. You can pick your own or pick something from here. This is the first project, a simple one. But you need to define what kind of calculator you want to build. It's just kind of simple, I guess, the accountant's calculator, I'm assuming, right? With bunch of keys and plus, minus, clear,
Yeah.
and then those.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. All right, any question? Maybe we can look at the randomness maybe today if we have time. I don't want to drop too much on you. Programming is something, if you get exhausted, your brain gets kind of blocked. So I'm mindful of that. Okay, let's do something fun. The randomness. Let's do randomness, which I think you're gonna like. So if I want to do something random, JavaScript has a function, and it's inside the math library. And the way to access it is you would say math dot random. If you do this, it produces a random number. Okay, so let's call rand equal to this. So I saved in this variable called rand, and I'm going to print this to see what number it prints. Console log rand. Okay, try this out. It prints something called, it prints 2.2 something. Okay, again, it's random, so every time I run, hopefully it's not gonna print the same number. If it does, then I should go buy a lottery. Okay, every time it prints a different number, right? But this is pretty close. 555, 3 5s in a row. Okay, cool. If I get another 5, oh, 6. All right, not that lucky. But anyway, try this out first, and then we're gonna look at why it prints it, how to get control over this to do what we want to do. Let's try this out. So once you try it, keep running it to see what numbers it prints. So first thing is to do is understand exactly how it works. And then we're gonna control it to produce the random number, a range that we really want. All right. So I hopefully everybody tried it. Now let's understand what's really happening. So when I say math.random, what it's doing actually is it's producing number between 0 and 1. If you want to put a mathematical way, you will never hit 1, first of all. You could hit 0, which would look like 0.0000 like that. And then you would never hit because 1 is excluded. So everything less than 1. So you could have 9.99999 all nines. And anything under, right? So between 0 and 1, excluding 1. So this is the nature of this function. Other programming languages has better way of handling this, but somehow JavaScript decided this way. So it's kind of weird, but you have to kind of get used to it. So if I want to produce something, let's say 1, 2, 3, up to let's say 1 to 10, how do I deal with it? What if I just multiply this by 10? So if I want to, let's say if I multiply by 10, what would happen? Okay, then I get 3.4. Okay, so at least we're getting something more reasonable. So 3, 1, 4. Okay, but I don't really care about these decimal points, right? So what I'm going to do is there is a function called floor. Floor means remove anything after the dot in a way, right? So what I will do is I would say math.floor and then pass this here. Right? Or if I want to do step by step, I would say range 1 to 0 to 10, 0 to actually it's 0 to 9 equal to then this, right? If I multiply by 10, it would give me range 0 to 9. Because remember, 10 you would not achieve. If I wanted to get 10, I would have to multiply by 11. But anyway, and then at floor equal to, I would take math.floor and then pass this range. So let's say if this is, let's say 3.5, then this would become 3. Okay, and so if I console log this floor value, I would get 0, then 5, 9, 1, 9. Okay, so now I'm getting a full number, right? So if I want to get 0 to 10, I'm multiplying by 10. If I want 0 to 100, I can multiply by 100, and this would give me up to 99, 0 to 99 actually. Okay. Right? Okay, now most of our cases, we are doing three things, right? Which is if you take the rock, paper, scissors, we have 3 options. So I want you to do this, and I want you to produce 3 numbers, 0, 1, and 2. How do you do that? So it should restrict itself by this 3 numbers. It should not produce anything more than that. Let's try this out. You already have this structure, right? Let's call this a range instead of range 0 to 10. Okay. Print up to 3 numbers. So anytime I run it, it will be either 0, 1, or 2. If you have a card, let's say if you're picking from card, it will be 52, like within 52 cards. If it's a dice, then you're doing 1 to 6, right? So yeah, let's try this. I think this one, everybody should be able to get it. It's pretty simple. You just have to copy this code and then just play with it in terms of range. And how many of you think the casino work like that? Like if you, when you in the slot machine, do you think they're producing randomly or they are controlling things inside? I think it's a pseudo random number where it sets the probability where you can say anything. If this person should not win more than, I would say, 30% or 40% of the time, which means the rest of the time they lose. All right. So remember, as I said, if I want 1 to 99, so this would give me 1 to 99, or 0 to 99, sorry, 0 to 99, right? 100 is always one less. So you get up to 99, 0 to that, right? Uh, so in a way, it's like a 0 to n minus 1, right? So if you say 100 is going to be 0 to 100 minus 1, which is 99. So if I want to go, if I want 3 numbers, right, then I would, if I do 3, then I would get 2 here, right? Because my objective is 2. So it's going to be 0 to 2 if I use n equal to 3. So I would use 3 here. Okay, and run this. 1, 1, 0, 2, right? Okay, so now let's say if I have an array, it's a selection, right? I have rock, paper, right? And then you have scissor. If I want to get one of these guys, I don't want to print the number because I already, my objective is to print one of these. Then all I have to do is instead of just floor, I would say select and then plus floored, which means, let's say if this is 0, then it's going to select this guy. If it's 1, it's going to select this guy. If it's 2, then it's going to select this guy, right? So let's, if I clear this and run this, I got rock, I got scissor, paper, okay? So it's randomly picking one of these 3. So half of the job is done if you want to build a rock, paper, scissors, right? If I want to roll a dice, how would I approach it? Let's do this. How would I approach roller dice? So dice has what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So one of the 6 values should be coming in here. So what changes would I make such that I would get a random rolls? So in the roller dice, we don't need this, right? Because we simply want the numbers. We don't need an array of things. We know we need 1 to 6. We know we can get 0 to 6. If I want to get 0 to 6, which means I would use 6. Oh, sorry, 7. If I use 7, I would get 0 to 6, right? But if I use 6 instead, then I would get 0 to 5, right? And if I add 1 to it, right, that would give me 1 to 5. So 1 to 6, sorry, because it gets added 1. So if I do 6, let's try this. 6 would give me 0 to 5. And all I have to do is, after whatever the result is, I would just add 1 to it. So if it's a 0, it would become 1. If it's a 5, then it will become 6, right? And so that's how I do it. And then in that case, it would pretty much give me between 1 to 6. So let's run this. And again, it's trial and error. So you have to, so 5, 6, 4, 3. So those who are building a roller dice game, right? You can build around this. So for example, what can you build with this one? So you can build, let's say, some sort of probability matrix. You can say, how many times do I have to do, what is the probability of getting one of these, right? You can do also, if I roll two dices, how many tries do I get to that target number? So let's say computer produces one number, 5, okay, and then you pick a number, and then you see who is bigger or something like that, right? Similar to the rock paper scissors. But there are lots of games you can build around rolling a dice, right? What is that game? Crapshoot, right? So you can build that, where you pick a number and then you roll to see if it matches, right? And then you can do actually a whole model around if you can, how much money can you win and all that stuff. So, but anyway, there are lots of ideas. If you don't have any ideas, let me know. But first thing is to understand this, build your model around it, build a game around it. So what I would suggest is, for the next class, those who have selected the game, think about how you want to structure the game, right? This is not going to be much of a visual game right now. Okay, we can use visual game. We'll leave it to the next project. This will be all non-visual game. Those who already know how to do visual game, go for it, right? But for those who don't know how to do it, just don't try, because it will make things complex, right? So one of the thing you want to feed the input is there is I think JavaScript has a method, JavaScript input or something, I forgot, input box. Oh, prompt, is it prompt? I think it's a prompt. Okay, so let's use this. So let's say computer selected this, right? And I'm not gonna print this one right now. And freeze. Pick a number or something like that. Please bet on a number. Okay, something like that. And then I'm just gonna console log bet, and then console log roll. So this one would be what you select, right? What you bet on, and this is automatically, roll. So if you're in a casino, remember the roulette, it produces one number, right? Similarly, if you do roll a dice, it produces a number, and we're going to compare to see if you really won or not, right? So let's see how it works. So I run this, and it says, please bet on a number. I'm just going to say 4. Okay, so I bet 4. It rolled 5. I lost. Right, let's try again. So this one try, right? I lost again. Second try. I lost again. That's why it's really hard to win the casino. Oh, I win again. So imagine how many try. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, after 4 tries, I won. Or 5 tries, I won. Right? I mean, that's a probably right probability for, because the probability is, every 6 try you will win, because there are 6 sides of a dice. So, okay, so you can use prompt to do input. So for those who are using, let's say, rock, paper, scissors, you can literally type it in rock, paper, and scissors. And then those who don't know how to do the user interface, and then let computer produce one of the values, and then you compare. So the comparison is the main logic, right? So you have to decide who wins. You have to use if-else statement, and then see who won, right? So here, when I roll, I'm producing number, but when I type it in, it's producing a string. So you have to convert this in if I want to compare this, right? Otherwise it would fail. So there are lots of small things you have to consider to build a proper game. But if you use this prompt, I think you can easily build one without any user interface. Last class, I try to focus on a user interface, but this class, I wanna build something without user interface initially, so it's not too much. And then next thing you're gonna do is actually user interface, so that it's not too much information overload on you. Any question? I think we are almost out of time. Those who wanna have question, you can stay behind and ask questions. Otherwise, we can end the session.
I have a quick question. I can
Sure.
stay behind.
Sure.
So,
All right, go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to ask if I'm also looking for projects to work on that would be valuable for portfolio and to show my work, like everyone, I'm sure. It's so I was wondering if, because a lot of the projects and things I see online are stuff that everyone's done.
Mhm.
It seems like expense trackers and some of the things, and I was going to ask if things like that are still um, like valuable to show professionally for the logic, or if it's better to come up with your own idea of something to make.
So, okay, so I would suggest a couple of things. Like if you want to build a portfolio, right? For example, so in a portfolio, what you want to do is it's all about not only the idea and the logic, but also overall approach, right? So, the color you use, the patterns, the documentation you do, right? So in the code, you would just put all the documentation, say, this is the logic that I've used because of this, right? All of that you want to put. And then you build a whole portfolio with 2 or 3 different types of project. One, you can put one of the games that you built here, right? And then, let's say you put initial game, keep improving it, add more complexity to it, and document it. And then so you can put that in your resume as a link. So if you upload on a GitHub or something, and then you put it on a resume. So what happens,
I
let's
kind of
say,
put together one so far. I don't think that the quality of the work I have on there is really competitive enough to show right now.
right, but that's fine. So the objective is you just put, if you go to a GitHub, let me give you an example. I may have a GitHub and I have, it's not only that. So if I go to GitHub, I'll show you some of the ideas.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is my GitHub. Obviously, I don't really need any super portfolio because I have a lot of experience. But if I were to, there are a couple of things I focus on. If you go here,
I don't see your screen. Sorry.
oh, you don't see my screen. Okay, let me
Yes,
share my
please, sorry.
screen. Okay, so you see, you would see a bunch of projects. Okay, um, these are my followers, and because of my YouTube channel, a lot of people follow me. But what you want to see, you want to see lots of repositories. Even if it's a small project, you put message saying, this is my earlier work, this is how I started my learning, and this is where you want to see constant work. Like I hardly have anything, but if you see a lot of people, they would say this would be like green all over the place, right? So this is what you really want to show, that I'm a hard worker. I constantly update this stuff, right? And then you will have a couple of projects where there's a full project where you see lots of documentation. Again, the whole purpose for my GitHub is completely different, but you would see, I don't think this one has any README file, but anyway, you would have a README file. Uh, have you heard of called Heroku and things like that?
No, but I mean, I do have some recent activity. I'm looking at my GitHub at the same time.
Yeah.
But I don't really know that much of. I usually skip the step of the README file. I know it's really important, but I'm not sure what the.
Oh, okay.
I guess
So
I need to look into.
so what do you do? Let's say if you build a React project, right? And so there is a way to render it. So let's say this is my React project, for example, right? Heroku, there are a couple of ways to do it where you can actually see the project running right here. So if you click on it, it will open the game, and you would see. So what it does, it takes the code and it renders it. I think Heroku allows you to do
So
that.
sort of like the GitHub pages, but for something that's not static.
Right. So it will let you I think you
Okay.
can use
Yeah.
Heroku and a couple of other platform. I think there's a one that natively available. You can do it directly inside here as well. I don't usually play around much, but you can sign up with the Heroku and set it up. So you can set it up your GitHub project and then you link it here, and it'll automatically renders as if you do the npm start and you build the game. You would see the actual game running. Similar to the
Okay,
code,
wow, that's really useful because
sandbag.
I was confused about how, yeah, I was really confused about how to connect anything from Code Sandbox to GitHub or like launch it in such an easy way without the npm console stuff. I mean, I do understand how to run that on my
Mhm.
computer, but I don't have I'm not really clear on how to launch that from GitHub. So,
Yeah, so maybe
but
maybe
what
I'll
you're saying
cover it
is
next time.
okay.
I'll cover it.
But what you're saying is that activity and the profile on GitHub is really important, equally as
very
important
important.
to a portfolio, or
Yeah, it's very important, especially for the first timer. Uh,
Mhm.
what are you trying? Are you trying to get as a like what's your target? When are you gonna try for these jobs?
When I mean, I would like to be ready like this. I, by the end of this year, I would feel like I could be strong enough to say that I've been doing it for over a year at
Okay.
least, and really as soon as possible. But I'd rather do it right than fast.
Okay. Okay. So what I would suggest is this, right? Build a strong portfolio, right? Where you have at least 2 or 3 projects that are solid. It doesn't have to be very complex, but where you can show your coding skills, right? And then
I do have one, but I don't. I just think that the projects I have on there are not that strong. I don't know.
okay. So
I should-
maybe what you want to do is, I don't know, somebody was going to build a calculator or something, right? So but you might want to build
Yeah,
something similar, right? So you want to build one game.
right.
Let's look at this. Okay, let me show.
I kind of did like a bootstrap, some template stuff, and then the featured projects is where the projects are.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Okay.
I put some design stuff on there too because I really wasn't sure, what might be relevant or what might get me in the door somewhere.
Yeah, everything is important, right? So for the front, if
Mhm.
you're trying for the front end developer, you need to show 3 things. You need to show your HTML, your CSS, and your
Mhm.
JavaScript skill, right? Which means React.
Mhm.
So I think if you're having a design skill, also is very important. Uh, so if you put a portfolio with where you have design and you have a couple of projects,
Mhm.
all of these kind of works. And last thing I would suggest is uh, focus on some testing as well, but not right now. And once you have a one solid portfolio, React portfolio, then
Mhm.
you can focus on testing. And one of these, once you have one of the projects running, I'll show you on we can use that
What the
last
tools
hour.
are we to learn to
Yeah,
test? Because I
test
read a
it.
lot about that, about testing tools, and I don't know enough of
Right. So all you need
where
to
to
do
start.
is, all you need to do is a couple of projects you wanna a full testing portfolio, right? So when they
Mhm.
look at it, they would
Mhm.
they would look at the design, they would look at the project and how you code, and then you also look at the testing. If they have all 3,
Okay.
they know that you are a well-rounded person, and then that could easily get you in the door. And as I said, you could probably start with the internship position. Okay.
Right.
uh, and then lots of places they would and then you would excel there. Once you go in, you can start working, and that becomes your basically. A lot of startups, they may not pay that well, but
Mhm.
any technical pay, you can easily get 50-60,000 for entry level uh, with
Right.
your skill right now. But you can easily, so your next pay would be 30-40% higher if you can build your again gain some experience within a 1 year or so. And that's how
Okay.
I
And
would.
not to take up too much of your time, but like
No,
I
that's fine. Yeah,
also
I'm here.
have a question about so there's like a juxtaposition because I don't have any experience in this
Mhm.
field, but I have work experience. So my resume is my work experience, which is in, restaurants, and I was in the military before that. So it's super irrelevant. And I feel like um, I, I don't want to show that I've never worked, but if the profile is the place, or portfolio is the place for my projects, then what should I be featuring on my resume if I'm coming from like a completely different industry? Because I try to tie the two together, like, um, solving problems with people and hospitality is a sort of a puzzle and relates to user experience, but that's kind of a stretch when they're looking for keywords and things like that.
So, okay, so what I would suggest is this. Whenever you want to pivot from your one
Mhm.
career to another, what you want to show is I have all this rich experience, which means I'm very mature in terms of making decisions and things like that, right? I
Mm.
accomplishment in other areas, uh, and I'm making this wise decision uh, to learn by myself, and I'm trying to get into this new field, and so your frame around that. So when you look at your like a first line where you want to
Mhm.
short, very short, but you want to also saying that I'm a very hard worker. I have a creative mind. I've looked at I've studied design. I've studied development, and I'm also testing. And I'm really ready for with my other experiences, prior experiences with
Mhm.
working with people and other stuff, right? I have a right temperament and all that stuff for this field. So if you give me a chance, I would excel here. And
I
then you
see.
want to then you want to put all the skills in terms of your technology skills, right? You put JavaScript, React, all the CSS, whatever, you put it down, and then put down an experience. First experience should be your projects, whatever, GitHub
Mm.
projects, and
Mm.
then which is a recent experience, right? And then you say all the other experiences would be your restaurant, whatnot.
Mm.
You don't want to do too much, but just a
Okay.
shortened experience where you provide you know what you've done and what you've accomplished there. And I think that should
So
get you in the door.
it's so that it's not um overkill or confusing to mention if it's mentioned in like a backstory, and that being the portfolio, and I will have a link to that on my resume. It's okay to be redundant and explain the same ones just to explain the in the resume.
Yeah, I think it perfectly makes sense, right? Because
Okay.
of this
Okay.
pivot, most of people who come to me, in this similar situation, they would say, "Hey, this is my situation," and I advise the same thing. And
Okay.
getting in the door at the first job may be a little bit difficult, right? But
Mhm.
Bay Area is just full of companies, and right now, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
uh, I people are just leaving right and left. And my company,
Mm.
I think 6 people left in um, past 2 months, right? And the people are
Yes.
leaving because there's a shortage because everything went online, right, during the Corona time.
Mm.
So which means uh, you know companies are just have tons of money to spend on web development, mobile development, all that stuff, right? And so people are getting more money outside. So people are just leaving right and left because I mean,
Mm.
if you open your if you start in your LinkedIn and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a job," I bet people will start, and you could put React and whatnot, and just explain all this stuff in that.
Mhm.
I bet you'll start getting some attraction there as well, right? So
Mm. Okay.
that's what you wanna do, and just start looking right now, even if you're not ready. Just
Yeah.
start looking,
Yeah.
and then start failing as well. So you'll get some
Yeah.
understanding of what kind of things that, let's say if you fail a few interviews, which is fine, you'll learn what kind of questions. So when you really want to apply, you would know, right? And then they would ask you a similar
Right.
question that I did, like find the maximum of an array. So people would ask you that kind of question, um, initially, right? Or they may ask you to build a simple to-do list React application, which you can build in that sandbox
Mm.
and things like that. So,
Okay.
uh, that's something that you want to prepare for the interview when you get a chance. But yeah, I would just say just brute force approach to this. I'm sure you will get it within, I would say within 6 months, you'll get at least a few interviews. And if you get few interviews, right, then your confidence would go up, right? And again,
Right, I can
failure is
see
not
how that would happen.
failure here is not a bad thing. I have so many years of experience. When I lost my job last year, right when the corona started, one day I got, a phone call, and I say, that's it, you're gone. I have, we'll mail all your stuff to your home, right? It's really brutal.
Yes.
It took me 3 months to seriously find a job. Obviously, I have a higher level, so the interviews are tough and everything, right? Um, sometimes it can be demoralizing, but I know that it's a number game. You give 10 interviews, you get into one of them, right? So that's how you want to frame
Right.
frame it. And yeah, if that's the attitude, and you'll be successful. Once you go inside one company, that's it. You gain some experience. It doesn't really matter. They don't really
And-
care where you're coming.
And then you have some experience. That seems like the hardest part to get.
Yeah, if you have experience,
It
it
seems
becomes
like
the
that
hard
would be
part.
the hardest part. Yeah.
That's the hardest part.
Right,
At
right.
my position,
Yeah.
finding a job at my level. So if I say I'm looking for junior level, nobody would accept me, because this guy will leave right away because he doesn't fit in at junior level. If I extremely senior level, they would grill me on the interview, right? And it becomes difficult for me to find a job. But for your level, I think people expect that this person is new to this technology, and is so we may pay her a little less, but we get some fresh perspective, right? Somebody
And
who can
win-win.
train, and yeah. So that's yeah. Let me know if you have
Okay.
any, when you build a resume, I can review it for you, and
Thank
yeah,
you.
we can go from there. And once you have a project, also I can review it on the GitHub, and I can advise
Okay.
what to add, what to remove, and all that stuff.
That would be really helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
See you next
okay.
week. Thank you
See
so
you next
much.
week. Bye.
Hi, Professor.
Hey.
I don't want to take too much of your time,
Yeah, no
but
problem.
I actually got 2 questions, and the first one is a technical. One is remove the duplicates. Okay, I'll send this string in the chat. It's actually what if like the repeated numbers are not in the same place?
Okay. Okay, so let me share my screen. Maybe there is another solution. So let's say if you have something like this. So let's say you said 1 1 1 2 1 3 1, something like this, right?
Right.
Okay, in that, what you can do, you can create an object. So what I would do, okay, and this the uniqueness of the object is objects have only unique values, right? So if I have hello and 1, I cannot have another hello, right? I cannot do this, right? 2, I cannot do this, right? So whatever I put inside here, it's I can keep track of the uniqueness of things. So what I'll do is this: I'll have an empty object to start with, right? And what I'll do is, for, let's say, let I of x, right? Or let's call item. It's easier to remember. Okay. So this gives me each item, right?
Yeah.
Then I would first check, is the item, I would say, if object is it inside that or not?
Yeah.
I would check inside. if it's not inside, and then I would have a result at, okay. So I would say if not, which means I have not seen it first,
Yeah.
right?
So that also using push.
Yes, then I would say result dot push the item, right? And also I would have to, inside the object, I have to add that. So I would say object item. I'm just going to put some value, 0, doesn't matter. Okay. Because the keys matter, the value doesn't matter. Okay. So at the end of the whole, that's all. At the end of it, if I look at the object, so if I console log object to see what actually it has,
Oh, I think you mistyped.
yeah. Okay, so you see it has stored all the unique values. You can see
yeah.
it only has value, and I just put 0 as a key or a value because I need something, right? But it's actually checking for the key,
Right.
So this way, it holds all the unique values, and then actually I don't even need this. If you think of it, right? I don't need a result. I can just grab these values from here as well because it's unique, right? In a way, right? And then if I console log the result, I will have the same thing, right? Right? Oh, did I? If not, okay, why is it? Result. If of not object. Oh, that's why. I just put 1 here because 0 doesn't work because. Okay, now it is. You know what happened? Because the value of this is 0, and then that's why. Instead, I would just put 1, and then you can see it prints 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Okay, so why if it's 0, it just put everything?
Yeah, because imagine, so let's say this is the object, right? And if a next one is 1, so I would say, hey, is 1 inside? So what it does, it says, if this was a 0, then what would happen? It would say, it would check the key and it would return the value. So it returns 0, right? And remember, 0 is false, falsy value,
False,
which means this becomes false,
Mhm.
right? So this becomes false, this becomes true. So it's always true. But if I put 1, then this is 1 and not is not. So it's gonna,
right.
that's why. Yeah, that's why.
I see that. Okay. Wow.
But anyway, this is the technique. So object is a good way to track uniqueness, and you will see a lot of times you have to keep track of uniqueness, and object is a great way to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that I might still need more time to like switch this mindset.
Yeah, let me give you this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the LitCode?
Yeah, I know the website, just like doing lots of practice, like question by question.
Yeah. Once you're good at it, right? A little bit, just start with the LitCode. I mean, I love LitCode. That's how I prepare for interviews.
Okay.
I go. Let me see LitCode.
And I heard that for some of the interviews, the companies would not only looking at the portfolios, but also like have these algorithm.
Yeah, a
or
lot of
programs
that.
into-
That's why I would suggest go. I think I had an account. I don't know what happened, but anyway, let's see.
Mhm, mhm.
Usually, what I do is so this is a pretty easy
Oh.
two sum is a pretty easy question. I mean, if you can do hard, obviously for your level, I would say if you can do easy ones,
Yeah.
reverse an integer or palindrome number and things like that,
Mhm.
Roman to integer, these guys, you are pretty ready. You don't even have to do medium because medium gets really hard
Yeah.
actually.
Mhm.
I've done hard ones like this one, a regular expression, and they are really hard. But if you can do, so two sum is a great one, and and it has a solution. If you go inside, I would say don't look at the solution the
Okay.
first time, even if it takes a whole day. Just to think about it, plan it, right?
If these questions are categorized by different computer languages?
No, you can see here it's a C++.
Okay.
So I can put in JavaScript and it gives you JavaScript, right? So all you have to remember that whatever it returns this, right? So yeah, that's try it out. How does it work? So first get used to environment, right? And then it has really nice structure. It gives you sample, but they're usually not enough, right? So
Mhm.
what this is saying is we have two numbers. So you have an array, right? Find two numbers that adds to 9, right?
Mhm.
So in this case, 2 and 7. So you need to return the indexes. So index of 2 is 0, right?
0,
And
1,
index
yeah.
of 7. So you need to return this.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. However, it looks very easy, right? But it can get really hard. Try this out.
Right. Okay. Just step by step. Mhm.
Yeah, and then once you do that, once you find a solution, and then they have a solution as well. But I think if you pay, they lock it. I have a
Mm.
paid version, so if you need a solution, you can ask me. I can give you some solutions for this one. Some solutions are open, some solutions are not.
Mhm.
For this one, it may be open. Once you log in, you can see
Yeah.
at least some solution. And there are JavaScript solutions, there are C
Yeah.
solutions. You look at all of them, and you understand exactly how it works, and then that's how you become better at this.
Yeah. And also, Professor, I am actually learning another like master degree in another institute, and it's data visualization and analysis.
Okay.
So I'm not learning Python or R language for this semester. I would say I might need that for next semester, and also the Tableau. So I just want to get some maybe recommendation or advice from you to for me to, do I need to process other languages like Python?
Python is okay. So if you want to,
Yeah, that's really different with the front end skills.
yeah, but Python, you would find Python very similar to JavaScript.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If in terms of languages, the difficult language, it would be, if you learn Java, C++. Python it's very similar to very close to JavaScript.
Okay.
So that's an advantage. The only thing is if you learn two languages, your brain sometimes gets confused.
Right. That's kind of thing I'm really concerned about. Like I would be confused.
But if you do enough work, so right now I do Python, I teach Python, and I teach JavaScript, both. And when I teach Python, now I'm starting to get used to Python syntax. But because I'm very strong at JavaScript, some JavaScript syntax always creep in. So that may be difficult. And you said Tableau and R?
Yes.
R is the most.
R, but I know that some of the universities and schools are using R.
Yeah, R is pretty much like a functional library. It's not. I wouldn't even call it a language. It's
it's like SQL.
No. It's like a so it's almost like a calculator. So let's say if I want to find out the median of some numbers, right? It's like a function library.
I see. I
So
see.
I just
Mhm.
pass the numbers and it gives me the median.
Yeah.
So there are a bunch of functions, basically built-in functions that you just pass stuff and it gives you a result.
Right. Yeah.
So R is like that.
Yeah. I
Uh,
just want to learn like what's the most popular and trendy within the
Python, JavaScript and Python are two languages. If you learn,
Okay.
you can easily find job anywhere.
Cool.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So I would not be, I would not suggest going in a Java or C++, any other stuff, right?
Yeah.
R,
I also,
R is a different, because it's related to your domain, so you have to learn, right? But I would suggest, master one language, and if you're front end focused, then you're going to do a lot of JavaScript. If you're back end focused or data people use a Python because there's a what is it called? There are lots of libraries available, right, for statistics and all that stuff.
MATLAB. Yeah.
Not MATLAB. There's a
Oh. Okay.
yeah, Pi everything. Like there's Pi Math, and I don't know. There's tons of library available, right? Or
Mhm.
for statistics and all that. So you can use Python, and it's pretty easy actually.
Okay.
Very similar to JavaScript, you'll find.
Okay. Good.
So yeah, I would say
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And also the Tableau is, I think it's for graphic like data.
Tableau, yeah, Tableau is a
Visualization.
tool. It's a tool.
Yeah.
It's a visualization tool. So you plug in your data and it just gives you graphical user. I wouldn't say it's a language. Yeah, it's a tool that you have to learn probably. Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty simple. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Thanks a
Good luck.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
See you next week. Bye.
All right. See you next time. Bye.